This is Sam Kirby, host of Cinema Stories. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Rachel Mullins, host of #NoFilterFriday here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my new show, #NoFilterFriday, where we talk about all of the sexual misconduct allegations swirling around Hollywood. A new show drops every Friday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of #NoFilterFriday. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Slide head first and break your fingers, slide feet first and break your foot, slide bum first and get a really uncomfortable floor burn. Welcome to Completely Serious, the show where we have fun and talk sports. And that catchphrase was sent to us by a listener, Dickie Henderson. Thank you, Dickie, for that contribution. Welcome to Completely Serious, the show where we have fun and talk sports, and welcome you twice. Today is a baseball day on Completely Serious. We have a doubleheader of baseball minds on the podcast, and it doesn't get any better than my first guest. Aaron Morse is the voice of Bates College. He is a baseball expert and an expert, and he's on the show now. Thank you, Aaron, for joining the podcast. I understand you're traveling out west, and I don't want to give away your location in case any of your fans hear this and try to find you. But how's it going? How are things?
It's great. I'm in sunny Southern California right now, so it's pretty nice. It is August, obviously, so it's kind of hot. But the place we're at has air conditioning, so I cannot complain.
That's huge. That's a big benefit wherever you're at has air conditioning. That was probably something you looked into ahead of time and made sure air conditioning was number one on the list.
That is a top priority for me no matter where I go. I need to have air conditioning at all times.
Are you catching any baseball? Are you watching any baseball out west?
We went to a Dodgers game last night, and the Dodgers ended up losing by 1 run. But I'd never been to Dodger Stadium before, so I can now check that one off my list.
How many stadiums have you checked off that list?
You know, I was counting that, and, it's tough. What do you count for a stadium? So I've been to the new Yankee Stadium, but it was for the Pinstripe Bowl, a football game. So does that count? I don't know. I've been to around 18 stadiums.
Okay,
so not
that's
all
impressive.
Of them, but a fair amount.
See, I kind of have a similar situation. I just went to Nationals Park the other week, but I didn't go into the park. I kind of stuck my hand through the gate and watched from the outside. So I don't know if that counts or not. So I think yours definitely counts. Mine is very much borderline.
But yeah, I like going to as many parks as possible. So, and Dodger Stadium's the third oldest now, so that was fun.
Yeah, no, Dodger Stadium would be a lot of fun. So that's very cool. You've spent many of summers in minor league baseball. And I want to know, you're a big baseball fan, big baseball broadcaster, what is your favorite food concoction at a minor league ballpark? Like, I've seen ballparks do crazy things with mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, tacos, sausages, but what's your favorite concoction you've seen or maybe tasted?
I think the most memorable one, it's tough because a lot of times at the games I would just have whatever they were providing up at the press box or whatever, but Gateway Grizzlies, shout out Adam Young, Samuel Levitt, some of those alums there. They have the baseball's best burger, which, if I recall, was a burger with a Krispy Kreme donut bun. So, yeah, shout out to Gateway over there in Sauget, Illinois. But, I would say baseball's best burger over there was probably my favorite just because it's, definitely that's a bold move to do, take a burger and then put some donuts on it as the bun.
How long was your nap after you ate that? I feel like that would call for like a food coma times 10.
The thing is, they weren't that big. That's the thing.
Okay.
You could eat them in a couple minutes. So.
Oh, yeah. Was it good? It sounds like it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, they were good. Sometimes they would be a little overdone, but no, they're good. They're good.
Listeners of this podcast will know I only bring on the foremost baseball minds, and I ask the most important questions. And Aaron, I want to ask you, if you were a condiment on a hot dog, what would that be?
I gotta be mustard, man. Yeah, spicy mustard. Give it that kick. That's what I like to do. I like to add a little extra excitement to things, right? So it's got to be the mustard to add some pizzazz to the meal.
And you spent some time in Chicago, so you know mustard goes on a hot dog, but ketchup doesn't.
Correct. I would never put ketchup on a hot dog ever, and I emphasize that everywhere I go, that you don't put ketchup on a hot dog. That's just not done. It's not a good thing to do.
Let's go even deeper. A deeper question. What kind of mustard are you? A spicy mustard? Are you more of the plain Heinz mustard? Are you some sort of mustard I've never heard of? What kind of mustard would you be?
Yeah, I think spicy. Spicy
Okay.
for sure. Because again, it's about adding that extra excitement to the meal.
I'm digging it. I want you to imagine you are the overlord of the baseball world, and you can create a rule change, and everyone automatically likes it in this hypothetical situation. What would that rule change be? For me, I'm mixed about the designated hitter. In the designated hitter rule, I like the idea of more offense, so I like the DH, but I think a player needs to be punished in some way for never playing defense. So I think the DH should have to wear like a chicken suit every time he plays. But what would your rule be? What would your rule change be? And everybody is going to support this automatically.
Well, first of all, I love the DH because I'm a Mariners fan, and two of their best hitters ever, Edgar Martinez and Nelson Cruz, are DHs. But so in terms of baseball, not to be like, old man Morse here or anything, but I think these new age shifts they're doing, we can get rid of those. I have a compromise, though. I think before the game, you have the starting lineups, right?
Yeah.
One hitter on each side. You can shift. And by shift, I mean 3 guys or 4 guys or whatever they want. Like Joey Gallo, they put like 5 guys on the right side or whatever they're doing. You can do that for like one player, and you have to declare before the game who you're shifting today. So like back in the day, the shift was unique, right? Like Ted Williams would be the only guy they would shift against. So nowadays, like let's say you're playing the Rangers, Joey Gallo would be the only guy you would shift against. But everyone else, you just play straight up. You maybe you fade guys one way or the other, but you can't put 3 guys on the right side or whatever. So that's what I would suggest, only because I feel like right now the shift is causing a lot of guys to try to hit the ball, in the air, which is fine, but it's changing swings a little bit, and that's causing more people to strike out, and that's putting the ball in play less, and so it's kind of a domino effect, if you will, from the shift that I think we're seeing in baseball. So it'd be nice for guys to focus on hitting the ball squarely and not worrying about having to elevate the ball all the time, although I do love me some home runs, but
sure.
I also love me some hot dogs and everything in moderation.
I like the way you work that back in. I have thought about the shift myself many times, and I don't know. I think that's a great potential possibility. I thought maybe they could put like lines in the field, like in the NBA, where you have the lane, and you can only be in the shift for a certain amount of time. So the player would have to bounce into the shift and bounce back, maybe, and there'd be somebody watching like 3 seconds in the shift or something. I don't know, something like that. But I agree, there has to be some sort of change.
Yeah,
or it'd be nice.
Distracting, but possible.
Now you have a really popular Twitter account called Shit Morse Says. It's super funny. I like it. What are some of your favorite shits Morse has said?
Well, first of all, I just want to clarify, it's not my account. I did not create the account.
I thought you did. Okay, well, that's a good clarification.
No, because my actual Twitter account is what I'm tweeting, right? But these are real quotes. So it's not a Twitter account I created, but I do endorse it. But they are real quotes. Everything you see on there is real. I think my favorite was one quite recently. We're in Hollywood right now, and we were able to get out of a parking garage. And as we were leaving, I just yelled out, "We own this town," because we were able to finally escape this convoluted parking garage. And stuff like that, random things I say. People who I'll keep the creator anonymous for now, but write them down and tweet them out. But it's not me, I'll say that. But they are real.
Can you say who it is, or is that somebody that has to be remain unnamed?
I think it's pretty obvious who it is, who I spend the most time with.
Oh.
Are you okay with being identified? Okay. It's my girlfriend, Christina, who has the account. She likes
That's
to roast
fantastic.
online.
Now, I want to play a game called Would You Rather. I'm going to give you 2 potential options, and I want you to tell me which one of these you would prefer. So the first question, you may ask any questions as well. First one, would you rather eat only free ballpark hot dogs, sticking with the hot dog theme, for an entire year, but they are always served slightly overcooked and without your favorite condiment, mustard, or work for a professional baseball team for a year, but your job is to run around the bases between the 4th and 5th inning in a T-Rex suit? Which one would you rather do? There's many details in each, but which one would you pick?
Give me the first one. I don't know how much that baseball team's going to pay me to do that. So give me the first one.
Eating hot dogs for a year. Okay, so you were pretty straightforward with that one. Good. Second one, would you rather have the superpower of hitting a home run whenever you wanted, but you don't have any legs, so you're never able to run around the bases, or have incredible superpower speed, but you don't have any arms to hit a baseball?
Well, I've never been able to run very fast, so give me the speed. That'd be cool to have, be able to go anywhere really quickly and stuff like that. The home run thing is, if you can't move, you're not going to have a very happy time out there. So give me the speed.
I should specify this, though. The talent does not carry over outside of the baseball field. So these only apply.
Oh,
yes.
man.
Yes, that changed things possibly.
It doesn't, because with the home run ability, if you can't go around the bases, it's not a home run. You got to touch all the bases. So, would someone have to carry me? I don't know. So at least with the speed, I could be like a superstar pinch runner, and score a bunch of runs and steal a bunch of bases.
Very smart thinking. I like the way you worked that through. Aaron Morse, thanks for jumping on Completely Serious. I really appreciate it. Can you remind people where they can find you online, on social media, and where you're at?
Yeah, so my favorite social media is Twitter. So follow me on Twitter at Morse Code 206. So Morse, M-O-R-S-E, code 206. That is my Twitter handle. And shout out Base Sports. That's the one I manage for the Base Athletic Department as well. So, and then of course, Shit Morse Says, created by Christina LeBlanc, is a fun Twitter account also.
Wonderful. Aaron Morse, the voice of Bates College and baseball expert. Thanks for jumping on the podcast. Jared Shlensky is up next on Completely Serious. Have you ever wanted to rep your favorite podcast? The one you listen to all the time. You never miss an episode. Do you want people to know that you're cool and smart and listen to podcasts? No? Well, how about you rep this podcast? Completely Serious. We want you to rep our podcast. What do I mean by rep? You big silly goose. I mean, I want you to wear my apparel. Apparel with the words Completely Serious on it. Like a shirt, like a sweatshirt, like an iPhone case, even some socks. Where can you buy this cool apparel? You can go to pubhousemedia.storeenvy.com. And you can find apparel not just from my podcast, no, from podcasts all across Public House Media. I'll read them real quick for you. Beauties and Headcanons, Choose to Rise, Cinema Stories, Coffee with Keith and Katie, How to Write Good, Loud and Proud, No Filter Friday, Press Road, The Cheap Seats, Verse of the Day, The Redefined Redhead, Table Talk, The Greg and Dave Show, Rewritten, Your Soccer Passport, Your Life Matters, and of course this one. I'm just reading the ones that are on the website. There might actually be more. Have a look. Go to pubhousemedia.storeenvy.com and get your swag today. Is it swag? Swag or swag? Oh, it's swag. Get your swag today. Welcome back to Completely Serious. Multiple guests today. That's always an accomplishment when we have multiple guests, and a very exciting day because our first guest, of course, Aaron Morse, was great. Our second guest, he may be the guest of the hour, one of two at the very least. His name is Jared Shlensky, and you've heard him before. He's a returning guest, and it's always fun when they return to our show. We don't know why, but they do. Jared Shlensky from the Gary SouthShore RailCats. He's their play-by-play guy, their voice, their media person. Jared, you have been on quite the summer. Only 9 off days, you were telling me. That's crazy. How's it been for you?
Season's been a lot of fun, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. Yes, I enjoyed it last year, and you didn't have to pay me to get me on the show.
That's rare. Yeah, you did ask for money. I was pretty impressed by that.
I did. I was actually hoping to be compensated, but it didn't work out, which is okay. Life will go on. However, the season's gone well. It's 100 games in 110 days, spreading all the way from as south as Texas to as far as north as Winnipeg, Canada. So quite a grind, to say the least, a lot of hours on a bus.
That is a ton of hours on the bus, and I'm going to tease the audience. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But first, we asked Aaron Morse this question, and I need to know yours because you're an expert on ballpark food. You've probably had a lot of it. What is your favorite ballpark food?
Good question. They had this nacho helmet a couple of years ago, and it's kind of like a walking taco, but it's in nacho it's in a helmet, and it's got nacho chips, and it's got, the beef, and then the tortilla, and some lettuce, and some mayo, some sour cream. The loaded nacho helmet. They put some bacon in there, too. It's really good.
I would like to see the players, I think it'd be a fun competition, if the players went up to the plate and they have to start their at-bat by eating the loaded nachos out of their helmet. Then they put on the helmet, and at that moment, it's when they can actually maybe get a hit. I think that'd add a little extra nuance to the game.
It would be. I just don't know if anyone would be able to go without regurgitating. It would be quite challenging, I think.
If you could make a perfect ballpark food, what would it be?
Perfect ballpark food. Well, my favorite food is chicken, so it'd have to be something with chicken. Maybe chicken and pasta. Maybe like a chicken parm plate. It would be a chicken parmesan plate. It would be cool if you could maybe put it in like one of those inflatable bats. That's what I would do. That's really intelligent.
So we're thinking like this bat that you can eat out of with maybe a hole in it, and you got chicken parmesan in the bat. Is that what you're talking about? That's something. That's off the cuff. That's a pretty impressive. Have you thought about that? I feel like that's something you almost have to think about.
Vaguely, if anything, but prior to coming onto this, no one ever asked me that. But yeah, I would say I've thought about it before, just because as you go to different baseball stadiums, you don't want to eat the same thing every time. So I try to mix it up, and I thought, somebody, if they would do something Italian, chicken parm, I think, would be really good.
I brought you on for story time because you've had such a long season, 100 games in 109 days, as you said. What are some of the best stories you've had from this summer? And we can leave out names, but what is the best story, say, from an actual game? What is the craziest, most bonkers thing you've seen so far this season?
To not even relate to the game itself, our bus broke down twice in Cleburne, Texas, so they had to bring a separate bus out to get us. The guys had to take Ubers 2 days in a row from the hotel to get to the ballpark. So I would say that would be the craziest experience so far, unrelated to being on the field or the playing of the game itself. Craziest, I guess.
Can I ask how many Ubers? A team is big. There's like 24 players on a team, I think, at the very least. I pictured as a line of Uber cars coming around this broken down bus and players getting into them.
Well, some of them were able to, fit 4 in per car.
Okay, sure.
There were about 7 cars lined up saying, "I'm here with your Uber." So yeah, it was definitely a little peculiar for the hotel. They said that they hadn't experienced anything like that in a long time.
Did Uber have the audacity to raise the fees? Because during those peak hours, they raise fees, and I imagine 7 cars going to one hotel might qualify for peak hours. Did they raise the fees on you guys for ordering 7?
I'm not sure. I actually did not take an Uber. They actually had a church bus come grab a couple of people, and I was the last one to get on the last one to leave, and a church bus in Cleburne, Texas was nice enough to come grab us. So I actually hopped on a church bus. But I do not believe they raised the fees as far as I was concerned. These guys aren't making an exorbitant amount of money, so the last thing they want is to be overcharged.
Speaking of buses, what is the best story? Of course, you as the announcer, you're probably sitting at the front of the bus, and you might have your headphones out or your earbuds out for a little bit reading a book, and you overhear some interesting stories coming from the back of the bus where the players are at. What are some of the more interesting stories, or maybe the best story you've heard on a bus that you can share, and you can leave out names?
They play this game called Mafia. I've never played it. I guess it's like Heads Up, 7 Up, but a more modern-day version of it, and it's called Mafia. And they didn't get into an argument, or it didn't even get into a physical confrontation, but you could tell someone was upset with how the game went, and it kind of like got out of, it didn't get out of hand, but the fact was that the manager had to say to keep it down back there, or let's wrap it up, was a little alarming that a game like Heads Up, 7 Up made someone upset.
Yeah, as a kid, you usually don't get too upset at those games when you play them in the classroom, and at most maybe you'll throw like your gum at another student, but we're talking grown professional athletes, all weighing probably at least 180 pounds and pretty well built with cleats and bats in their back seat. Did it get violent, or did it not escalate to that level?
No, it did not escalate to that level. There were some raised voices, but then quickly it was addressed and it went away.
Jared Shlensky, thanks for jumping on the podcast. I appreciate it. Some fun stories from this summer. Can you remind people where they can listen to your great calls and where they can find you online?
RailCatsBaseball.com. We stream online. Gary SouthShore RailCats, part of the American Association of Professional Baseball. We're also on a local radio station out of Michigan City, Indiana. It's called WEFM 95.9 FM.
Jared Shlensky, thanks for jumping on the podcast. We really appreciate it. A second timer, always good. I'm sure there'll be a third time if he decides to. Maybe next time I can talk to our producer and see if we can maybe slip you a little kish or a little cash if you'd like.
Or a flight out to D.C. I'd like that too. That would work.
That would work. Yes, come out and visit. Again, Jared Shlensky. Thank you, Jared, for jumping on. We appreciate you, the listener, for tuning in to Completely Serious on Public House Media. We'll talk with you in 2 weeks.